Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. Today I have a really interesting discussion, and this is about one of the just most curious lines really in all of One Piece. This was dropped at about chapter 130, I think it was 129, and since that point in time, this specific line still has not been properly explained to date. But I think if we can try and understand this line, it actually has some importance towards the end game of One Piece, and you'll understand that as I explain it. But this scene involves Dory and Brogy back in the end of the Little Garden arc. So without further ado, let's just get right into this. So at the end of the Little Garden arc, as the Straw Hats were about to set sail from Little Garden, then to go to Alabasta, as they leave the island, they encounter a giant goldfish sea king. And as the Sea King was about to swallow their ship, Dory and Brogy stepped up to basically take out the goldfish so that the Straw Hats could go on. And this scene was pretty epic. But what I want to focus on is what Dory and Brogy, a line that they said just before they took out the goldfish. And this is basically what they said. They talk about just how giant the goldfish has become, keeping in mind that they've been on this island for 100 years. And that also the feces of the Sea King are so large that they can be mistaken for islands, which is called the Vacant Islands. But then after this, they comment on their own strength, how they can take out pretty much everything that they encounter. That's just how much they believe in their own powers, except for, and this is in quotation mark, the giant serpent soaked in blood. So apparently this serpent is the only thing that the giants know that they can't take out. And this is extremely curious. Also, their choice of words. The giant serpent soaked in blood. What exactly is this giant serpent that they cannot defeat? This almost has to be important. This giant serpent soaked in blood almost has to be something that will come into play later on in the story. And the question is what are they referring to? I think probably my first guess as to what this could be would be something that was specific to the island of Elbaf that we'll encounter during the Elbaf arc. Keeping in mind that Dory and Brogy are originally from Elbaf, it would make sense for them to have encountered some creature back there that was just incredibly strong, that will play some important role in the story during the Elbaf arc. I think this is a possibility, and definitely would be cool, but I don't think that this is the answer to what they meant when they said the giant serpent soaked in blood. I think that they were referring to something else. I honestly think that they were referring to the Red Line. Now, I understand that the Red Line is not a serpent, and that the Red Line isn't soaked in blood, but if we use this as a metaphor, it could be a potential way that the Giants of Elbaf, an expression that they use to describe the Red Line, which is the Red Line is first of all red, which would explain the soaked in blood part. And then looking at the overall design of the Red Line as it pertains to the world of One Piece, it is kind of similar to a serpent as well, how it sort of stretches across the world and then crosses itself, sort of like a serpent. A serpent is often shown in symbols as eating its own tail so that the snake then makes one complete sort of cycle. And so in the case of the Red Line, if it were to potentially represent a snake, then this would also make some sense because the Red Line is continuous. Now, I understand that this is potentially sort of a vague connection, but I do think that there is a ton of potential out there for the Red Line being what the Giants were referring to in this particular line. The Red Line is certainly something that would not easily be destroyed. So would definitely fit given the parameters of what we're given for this line, which is something that the Giants know that they can't destroy. So if this is the case, it would seem like it would be kind of a downer. If it's just the Red Line that they're talking about and not some foreshadowing to some awesome creature that exists within the world. But I'll disagree, and for these reasons that I'm about to explain, which is that if Oda decides to make this, the Red Line, be called the giant serpent soaked in blood, my first question is that why hide it? Why not specifically state the Red Line? Why make it so ambiguous? And then to top it off, why would the Giants be specifically talking about how they can take out pretty much everything except for the Red Line? Like, do they have some sort of plan of taking out the Red Line? If you've been following my theories and then in general been in the theory community for a while, you'll know of the theory that basically states that the One Piece is the destruction of the Red Line, the creation of the All Blue through the destruction of the Red Line. This is a huge theory out there, and recently I've touched upon this theory on several occasions, including in my own One Piece theory, in which I say at the end of the theory that I do think that destroying the Red Line is part of the One Piece, but not the One Piece itself. If you want full details on that, I suggest that you go check out that theory. But I definitely think that destroying the Red Line is an important event that should happen in the future of One Piece for various reasons. First of all, and the most obvious thing, is that at some point in time, Sanji will achieve his dream of finding the All Blue. And right now, it seems impossible for the All Blue to exist within the world, given the existence of the Red Line, because the Red Line separates out the seas. And the All Blue is supposed to be a place where the fish of every single sea live. Basically, the sea where it exists all of these fish from across the world. And that can't exist because the Red Line divides it. So with this being established, it would make a ton of sense if the Red Line were in the future of One Piece destroyed, so that Sanji could achieve his dream of finding the All Blue. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only way that the All Blue could come into existence, but just to be honest with you, it seems like the way that makes most sense to me. And then on top of that, we have some potential foreshadowing with Laboon trying his hardest to destroy the Red Line so that he could go meet his Nakama in the New World. But we can't forget this either, which is that Laboon's pack, or at least the other whales that exist in the world of One Piece like Laboon, also have the same scars on their noses, suggesting that they too also have a desire to destroy the Red Line. And so, again, this could be just some masterful foreshadowing from Oda, suggesting that the Red Line is an obstacle that needs to be destroyed in order to unite the world. I've also talked about this in my One Piece theory and also in my history of the Void Century Revealed theory, but I think that important aspect of One Piece in general is the unification of all the various tribes and species in the One Piece world. I believe there's evidence out there that suggests that this is going to be something that will occur at the end of the story. The fishmen will then live up on the surface, the minks who currently live on Zou will come down to the surface, and then in general, you want to have good relations between all the various groups that exist right now. And this actually includes the residents of the North, South, East, and West Blue. They should all become unified as well in this sort of world where everyone lives together. And so the Red Line, again, stops that from occurring, so it would make some sense if the Red Line were to be destroyed so that you could have better interactions with people from different parts of the world. And then going back to Dory and Broggy and the fact that they specifically mentioned this giant serpent soaked in blood, and how they seemingly have some desire to destroy this serpent, given that they know that that's the one thing that their blades cannot penetrate. And then going back into my theory about, One Piece in general, and the belief that I have that the Red Line will at some point be destroyed, this is something that I believe the Ancient Kingdom supported. And then it's also suggested that the Ancient Kingdom was friends with all of these non-human groups, that their overall plan was to unite all these different groups and then be friends with them all. And so this would also include the Giants. So with this being said, it wouldn't be out of place for the Giants of Elbaf, specifically Dory and Broggy, to mention possibly a plan or a desire to destroy the Red Line. So in short, I think that this really odd line, that up until this point in the story, keep in mind that 700 chapters have passed since the point in time that this line dropped. It still hasn't been explained. I think this line was foreshadowing way back in chapter 129 to the overall idea that the Red Line in the future of One Piece will be destroyed. So yeah, that's all I got, guys. This was pretty simple, but required a little bit of explanation to explain myself fully. But I hope that you enjoyed it. I definitely think this is one of the most intriguing lines yet to be revealed in One Piece. And I think that for me, this is the answer that I like the best. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or you disagree and why. Give me your thoughts. Let me know if you have any other ideas on the topic, because truthfully, this giant serpent soaked in blood could potentially represent a lot of things. And I think that there could be a lot of other cool ideas as well. Let me know what you think. Like the video if you liked the video. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. And as always, dudes, have a wonderful day.